Hey everyone, welcome back.
Welcome back, and we are shooting in the morning, which we never do.
Yeah, so hopefully you're awake.
I'm awake.
You're wide awake, Sarah.
But first, we want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed recently over the last 3 years, because we have just officially hit 13,000 subscribers. Woo! So we just want to say thank you, and also, we're gonna keep making videos in the players that you like. We do kind of have a certain set of probably 10 people we normally talk about, but in the next year I do want to expand that a little bit. There's definitely some things I want to talk about, so but thank you to everyone, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing it. But on today's video, what we are going to do is talk about something that's we've been kind of talking about over the last 6 months since the Euros. It was all kind of speculation before, but it's been kind of confirmed that Vivianne Miedema is still suffering with COVID effects. She did not call it long COVID, but it's basically what it sounds like when she so what we're gonna do, she just kind of I don't know if it was an interview, a press conference, and she talked about a few things, but one of the main things she talked about was talking about not being fully recovered from COVID, and talked about she's really had to manage her minutes because she hasn't been fully recovered. But then she also talked about she took a break from the last international break. She took time off, and it really helps her. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna play the video. I think we should be able to play it. If it's copyright or something, we will just play the audio, I think.
It's like I've obviously had COVID during the Euros, which I've not really fully recovered from. I think some people go through it with a cold, but I've actually been in my bed for 10 days. I had a high fever. I've been really sick from it, so I needed some time to recover. Then in the beginning of the season, you kind of get through it because it's like an autopilot almost in your head. You're like, okay, I'm going to be playing those games. I can kind of save my energy in these moments, and that's it. And then I obviously missed the second national period through illness again. And since then, I spoke with Jonas about obviously getting a rest against Lyon, managing my minutes, but I just didn't feel mentally and physically ready to actually play. I think you could see that in the way I was playing. I think I didn't enjoy my football at that moment, and I think the moment you start not enjoying it and start waking up in the morning not wanting to go in, I think that's the moment that you need to make a switch. And obviously after speaking about it with Jonas and my national team coach Andries, I was just really happy that they both granted me the time off and I could actually get away for 2 weeks.
So she talked about being able that her two coaches from the national team and from Arsenal granted her the time off because she's still, like she said in the video, she had COVID pretty bad. Some people don't get it that bad. Some people get it mild. It sounded like she had a pretty intense case of it.
Yeah, it just sucks because you never know how your body's going to react. You think, oh, I'm just going to be like everybody else who just gets it mild or barely, But then when it slams you, it slams you.
In bed for 10 days also. And I mean, we've talked about this endless on our channel, but her playing for the full 120 minutes at the Euros, whether that was her decision or Mark Parsons' decision, either which way, that didn't sound like the best idea. But when you're a professional athlete, sometimes it's worth it for those big moments. I mean, that's a discussion that's going to be there forever. People have their opinions already on that.
I just feel so bad that, you're an athlete, you use your body, you rely on your body to, perform. And when it's not doing that, it's awful.
Right.
I just feel bad.
Yeah. And she said also in that clip, she wasn't playing her best, hasn't really been playing her best. And people could tell, and she knew she wasn't playing her best because, like she said, the way she makes it sound too is that she still is not fully recovered from COVID. So it must be those effects of the long COVID. And I bet it's scary for her. She's still very young. I think she's 26, so that's very young still. It's probably very scary for her. And it's actually pretty brave of her to actually be saying that in context for playing too.
Right.
Kind of, it might make some might think if they admit it, they might seem weak or something. Hey everyone, it's Sara here. Sara, we just recorded this, but now it's just me because I'm kind of doing a voiceover because I just saw this interview that Viv did, and actually Jonas did it as well, kind of talking more about the break that Viv took. When Sara and I talked about it, we kind of just focused on the COVID aspect of it, her physical health, but she talked about it. It just wasn't her physical health that she was struggling with. It was her mental health as well. Because all that kind of went along. Obviously, when you get COVID, it kind of messes with your brain as well because you're not playing your best. So it kind of, mentally it kind of takes a toll. And she talks about it in this interview that said, my mental health struggled a lot. And then they kind of talked about it also. Your mental health is struggling. You're not playing your best. Then people's expectations of people have expectations of you to be the best player on the field because it is Vivianne Miedema, and you don't perform, then it messes up with your mental health even more. So she was really talking about, with all the pressure and expectations on her, that she wasn't playing her best. That is hard. She said in the interview, when you have been playing at such a high level for 8, 9, 10, 11 years, and then people perceive you to be not playing good, or you're not playing good, that really messes with you. And that's something that no human, I can't imagine any human being able to deal with that and all kind of work together, where it was a physical break, yes, but also a mental health break, because that mental health aspect is so important. And like I said in the other part, so brave of her to talk about it. And it was nice to see Jonas kind of talking about it too, said, she needed the time, because in the long term, it's going to help her. And it's also going to help Arsenal, because that way, long term, she'll be a better player. So, mental health as well, so important that, people are so aware of how they're feeling internally, because if you're not feeling right, mentally in your head, then you're not going to be performing your best. And it's not healthy for a person long term either. So I just wanted to add that although it was, yes, COVID and physical, a lot of it was mental too, because it's kind of like a spiral. You're not playing well. The media says, oh, Viv's done, Viv's over, Viv's not playing well. Then it kind of takes a toll mentally, and then you just proceed not to play well. And also you had COVID. So I just wanted to add that a lot of it was mental. So it was mental health. So I'm glad Viv was okay enough to talk about that. But just want to mention that, because now that she had the break, she seems like she is playing better. But we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit at the end of the video. Okay, thanks. Then she kind of talks about getting through the games at the beginning of the season, because we've been talking about the schedule that they have. There's a very busy schedule. They had Euros and they had the beginning of the season, like Viv talked about. The beginning of the season, she said she was on autopilot just because she knows the games are there. Muscle memory, you're going to have to do the games at the beginning of the season. And also she had just recovered too. So there's a lot. But also in this interview, she talks about football, FIFA and her region, UEFA. They really need to listen to the players, because the players are saying the schedule is too much. It's too much. It's too hard on those bodies. We're going to read kind of from this article, and then we're going to talk about it.
Vivianne Miedema, Arsenal star, calls for more protection and says FIFA and UEFA must listen to players. Arsenal and Netherlands star Vivianne Miedema says women players need protection and has urged FIFA and UEFA to start listening to her and other players over the need to improve in management around their workloads. Miedema took a break from football last month, saying the non-stop nature of her schedule over recent years meant she needed to switch off. Arsenal have suffered a number of injuries this season, with Leah Williamson and Rafaelle Souza only just returning from lengthy absences, while Beth Mead recently suffered an ACL injury that will keep her out for a significant period of time. Chelsea boss Emma Hayes recently expressed her concern at the demands being placed on players when asked for her thoughts on the topic. Miedema said, I think if you look at women's football and men's football in general right now, the load on us players is too high. It's something players are now starting to speak about. We've had Rafa and Leah out for the first half of the season because they've played the Euros and Copa America and not had the time off. We play 3 games a week right now, which, if you look at the facilities and circumstances, we're not at the same level as the men's game. We just need to start protecting the players, because people come to the Emirates to see Leah, Kim Little, and Beth Mead play. Miedema highlighted the increased number of international windows and smaller squads at club level in women's football compared to the men's game as two of the biggest issues impacting players' workloads. 26-year-old who has over 100 caps for the Netherlands said, as a player, you want to be playing in the big tournaments. The biggest difference is we have more international windows than the men have. We also play the Olympics with our A team instead of the U23s. I think that's something FIFA and UEFA need to start looking at. In women's football, we also don't have the same sort of numbers within a squad. Man City's team probably has 22, 23 full-time amazing players. This year, I think we've got 18, 19 players that are capable of being in the squad for us. They need to start listening to us players instead of making the decisions off money or popularity. We need to try to come to a solution with the players and associations together.
So that was a lot, but basically she laid out that the players are overworked. They don't have the same circumstances as the men. They don't have as many players. They don't have as many. The facilities aren't as good as the men's. So for they have the recovery isn't there like the men's probably have recovery. Their schedules are just too impacted. And I think right when she was talking about the U23 soccer players, I believe the men Olympics, they play the U23s in the Olympics, and the women's play their national team.
Oh, okay.
Which I think a lot of people, I know in America, I'm sure the Americans want to play their full A squad.
Right,
because we don't have the Euros and things, but maybe some countries could opt, hey, we don't want to play our team, we want to play our U23 team, not our national team. And that's definitely something to be looked at too. But hey, Viv, it sounds like the players have some answers to some of the problems. So if the FIFA, UEFA, and the Players Association can kind of get together and say, hey, you're not going to have any players if you keep this workload. You're not going to see Leah, you haven't been able to see Leah Williamson, number one star in England right now. You haven't been able to see Beth Mead, number one star in England right now. Possibly because of the workload. And Viv says, this isn't good. This isn't good for football. If you want us to play and you want us to play at the highest level, what you're doing to us, A, isn't fair, and B, it's not safe for the players.
Exactly.
Okay. So what did everyone think about those kind of two stories? What do you think about what Viv said about the scheduling? Because you hate to see, so many top players are not, Pernilla Harder, I saw a picture of her in this article. She had surgery on her hamstring, I believe. Leah Williamson was out. Beth Mead is now out. Like they said, Rafaelle Sue's out. So many players are injured, top players.
Underpaid and overworked.
Yeah,
right?
Overworked. I think that's a big takeaway, that they're overworked. And like Viv said, she had COVID. She's still not fully recovered. And luckily, because of her coaches said, yeah, you can take time off. I'm sure there's other players like Viv who maybe aren't as well known, who had COVID, who are still suffering from the COVID effects. Men's and women's, actually, players.
Yeah.
So Arsenal, they actually played today. We're recording this on December 7th, our time, which is in the morning. Their game actually already been starting. I'm not exactly sure what time the Arsenal game is. So they're playing a game today. But Viv has actually scored in the last 2 Arsenal games. So she has been playing well the last couple games. This video will probably go up after today's game. So she could score another goal today. We don't know.
No.
So she did have the time off, and Arsenal, Arsenal had, because of these injuries, Arsenal had been struggling. There's so much pressure on these athletes' body. And Sara and I was just talking about this yesterday too. Obviously, when you're an athlete, there's so much pressure on your body. Men's facilities has a lot better facilities, a lot better things for recovery, but the women's facilities don't have that quite yet. So
gotta get on that.
Yeah. So what did everyone think? What do you think about Viv? And I like we said, I don't think Viv wants everyone thinking every time she goes out there, oh, is she okay? Is say a good day for her, a bad day for her? I don't think she wants it, but she wants to be transparent. Yeah, I'm not fully recovered, and it's a day-to-day thing. Having the time off really helped, though. That's what actually really helped.
Yeah, she wants change. She wants to bring change, working conditions.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's very vulnerable. Viv, that's a very vulnerable thing to even talk about, because you don't want people feeling bad for you either.
Right.
But Viv has looked really good the last 2 games. Hopefully Arsenal get a win today. They play Juventus again. What does everyone think? This interview just came out yesterday, so what does everyone think? And questions, comments down below. We'll talk to everyone soon.
And Sara stepped on a dead mouse yesterday.
I stepped on a dead mouse. I stepped on a mouse. I did not realize it, and then I felt really bad, and I cried. Questions, comments down below. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a great day. Bye.